All right, my name is Grady George. I'm here with another movie review. Today's movie is Evil Dead Rise. I'm a huge Evil Dead fan. I saw the first one when I was a little kid and it really scared the shit out of me. Part 2 of course is scary and funny, and then you got Army of Darkness, which is mostly just funny. And then the reboot is just like dark, extremely brutal. Nothing funny about it. I gotta say, part one for me is my all-time favorite, and while I do like part two and Army of Darkness a whole lot, I really like the sheer brutality and darkness of the reboot. Now, I will say, when I saw that one at the theater, I didn't like it as much as after I revisited it on home video. It was a lot better, and it really grew on me. And I actually loved the reboot. I think that came out in around 2013. So I like the really, no comedy Evil Dead. So when I heard this one was coming out and it was in that same vein, I was really looking forward to it. I will say, if you've not seen other Evil Dead films, there's no reason to. So if you have some friends that are wanting you to go and you haven't seen the other ones, there's no reason to see them. This is really like a standalone film. While I was watching this, and the same can be said for the reboot as well, Evil Dead is as much the character Ash as the Deadites. So it's really weird seeing an Evil Dead film without Ash. You can't really recast that character because Ash essentially is Bruce Campbell. So I couldn't even imagine. I think they were at one time going to do the reboot with the character of Ash, and I think Ashton Kutcher was attached. And I just couldn't imagine that. You know what I mean? So I'm glad they don't have someone replacing Ash, but at the same time, there's no character that really takes the place of Ash. Even the heroes in the last film and Evil Dead Rise, they're completely opposite types of characters than Ash. But Evil Dead Rise, in my opinion, is the worst Evil Dead film made. But it's such a high bar that it's not a bad film per se. I would say if you are an Evil Dead fan, go check it out. You'll probably like it. Even if you're not, you might still like it. I think that it's a little bit more mainstream than the past films. It's hard to review the film without giving too much away. So I will say at this point, there are going to be some spoilers. I'm not going to go into major details of the film, but there are a few aspects of the film I wanted to talk about that something that maybe you want to be surprised about. Here we go. First of all, this film has 3 children, 2 high school age and one that looks like they're maybe 8 or 9. This is the first for the Evil Dead franchise, and going to be fucked up seeing these children brutalized. That's pretty fucking dark. But as it turns out, yeah, some fucked up shit happens, but it's not that bad. The gore is pretty off the hook for 2023, but for Evil Dead standards, I believe the gore is really toned down. There are some scenes that we're seeing in the trailer that are probably the worst. So if you see the trailer, and I'm talking the red band that shows some gross out shit, I would say most of the gross shit was in the trailer. So I think if you're somebody that's really turned off by the gross stuff, there is a lot of gross stuff in this film as well, but it's like way tamed down from an Evil Dead movie. But it's probably the grossest movie of the year. So, do with that what you will. The other thing is there is an added religious aspect to this film, which kind of disappointed me. I believe the first Evil Dead film the book was recovered after being left there by some archaeologists at the cabin. This time, the book was recovered. I think, I'm not really sure, but it somehow belonged to the Catholic Church. And the recording that you have to speak to bring the Deadites out, which in the first film was on a reel to reel. In this film is on vinyl, and the kid plays it, and they clearly say it's 1921. It's stored with a bunch of church artifacts, so and it's sealed away, and it just made me wonder how did the events at the cabin for the first one happen? If this book has been sealed in this wall of this high rise since 1921. But I did hear them say something in the recordings about there being three books, so that could be the answer to that. But I did not really like adding the religious aspect to it because for me, Evil Dead's one of the few possession movies where you don't have the church involved. No one's, thinking like that. They're just suddenly faced with some kind of possessed person, and they gotta fight him to survive. There's no calling a priest. There's none of that shit. Not in this movie either. But just the fact that the book came from like a Catholic church and all that kind of made me feel like they were trying to shove it into that exorcist kind of genre, which I don't believe Evil Dead should be around. I really like the idea that you don't see priests in Evil Dead trying to give exorcisms to Ash and shit like that. And then the last thing that really bothered me is the Deadites themselves did something that they've never done in any movie, and it's something I've seen done in like sci-fi John Carpenter type movies or maybe The Alien. I don't want to give too much away, but they do something, and it's so out of place that it really pisses me off, and it also makes it a very easy solution to the Deadite problem in the end. So there was enough different about this movie that turned me off as an Evil Dead fan, but not enough not to recommend it. I would recommend it if you're an Evil Dead fan. Of course, you're going to like this movie. Is it on par with the originals? No. And I believe the reboot's better than this, but it's a strong, if you're taking like the reboot and now this is like the second of maybe a new trilogy of three new Evil Dead movies, I think it fits in well. It's an okay movie. It's not that bad. I will say the directing is very well done, and it's all filmed beautifully in New Zealand. I think I saw it said the country of Ireland paid for part of the production. So in the credits. Anyway, if you're looking for a movie to go see this weekend, go check out Evil Dead Rise. On a scale of 1 to 10, I will give it a 6 out of 10. If you've seen the movie, let me know in the comments what you thought. Till next time.